the desires that hold us captive. We consider ourselves free people. We make decisions, build plans, choose our path. But what if I told you that most of us live in a prison? A prison without walls, without bars, without guards. A prison we've built for ourselves out of our own desires. Every day we tell ourselves, if I had this job, I would be happy. If I had this relationship, I would be fulfilled. If I had this wealth, I would be free. But upon getting what we want, we discover that happiness slips away like a mirage in the desert. And then a new desire appears, a new goal, new bars for our cage. We don't understand that the problem isn't that we don't have what we want. The problem is the very mechanism of constant wanting. We've become slaves to our aspirations, prisoners of our ambitions. Ancient sages knew this secret. True freedom doesn't begin with getting what we want, but with understanding the nature of desire itself. Today, 3 parables will show you how we build our own cages and how we can find genuine freedom. First parable: the king who sought his happiness. Once there lived a mighty king who ruled a great empire. He had immense wealth, beautiful palaces, faithful servants, and a powerful army. But despite all this, the king knew no peace. He was tormented by a strange melancholy that he couldn't explain. Perhaps I lack knowledge, he decided, and gathered the greatest sages of his time. He studied philosophy, astronomy, medicine. But the melancholy persisted. Maybe the problem is that I don't travel enough, thought the king. He journeyed to distant lands, saw wonders of the world, encountered different cultures. But even this brought no relief. Perhaps I need more entertainment, he decided. Lavish festivals were held in the palace. The world's finest artists came to perform. New theaters were built. But the joy was fleeting, and the melancholy returned with renewed force. One day, in desperation, the king disguised himself in simple clothes and walked the streets of his capital. He wanted to understand whether his subjects were happy. Wandering through the city, he saw an old beggar sitting under a tree, playing a simple flute. The old man's face showed such serenity as the king had never seen. "Old man," said the king, "you look happy. What's your secret?" "Secret?" smiled the beggar. "Do you need a secret for happiness? I simply sit under a tree and play my flute." "But you have nothing, no house, no money, no power." "That's true," agreed the old man. "But tell me, friend, do you have anything you don't want?" The king pondered. Thousands of desires flashed through his mind. He wanted to conquer neighboring lands, build an even grander palace, find the elixir of immortality, become the wisest man on earth. "Yes," he said quietly, "I have countless desires." "That's the difference between us," said the beggar. "You're rich in everything except satisfaction. I'm poor in everything except peace. You're imprisoned by your desires, while I'm free because I need nothing." The king returned to his palace and reflected long on the old man's words. For the first time, he understood that his prison wasn't built of stone, but of endless "I want, I must, I need." This parable reveals the main illusion of human existence. We think happiness will come when we get what we lack. But each fulfilled desire births a new desire, creating an endless cycle of yearning. The king had everything most people dream of, yet was unhappy because he always wanted something more. The beggar had nothing, yet was happy because he didn't strive for what he didn't have. We live in a culture that constantly tells us happiness depends on external achievements. But the truth is, as long as we're attached to the results of our desires, we'll never be truly free. Look at your own life. How much energy do you spend pursuing what you don't have? How much time do you spend in the state of, when I get this, then I'll be happy? Each such desire is another bar in the cage you're building for yourself. Second parable: the miser and the lamp. In an ancient city lived a miser who spent his entire life hoarding gold. He denied himself food, clothing, entertainment, all for the sake of increasing his wealth. His house was full of treasures, yet he lived worse than a pauper. One day, while rummaging through old items at the market, he found a tarnished copper lamp. At home, while cleaning it, he accidentally rubbed the lamp's side, and a genie appeared. "I will grant you 3 wishes," said the genie, "but remember, after this, I will disappear forever." The miser couldn't believe his luck. All his life he had dreamed of limitless wealth, and here was his chance to finally get it. "My first wish," he said, "I want everything I touch to turn to gold." "It is done," nodded the genie. The miser immediately began touching objects. Table, chair, walls turned to pure gold. He was ecstatic. But soon he realized he couldn't eat golden bread or drink golden water. He was surrounded by wealth, but dying of hunger. "My second wish," he cried, "make it so I can touch food without turning it to gold." "It is done," said the genie. Now the miser could eat, but he discovered a new problem. He was afraid to touch people, lest he turn them to gold. He became even more lonely than before. "My third wish," he said in desperation, "take away this power. I want to be an ordinary person." "It is done," smiled the genie, and vanished. The miser remained in his house, surrounded by golden objects. He had gotten everything he'd dreamed of, but realized he'd become even more miserable. Gold couldn't give him what he truly wanted: peace, joy, human warmth. But the most terrible discovery awaited him. Sitting among the golden objects, he realized that even if he had all the gold in the world, he would still want something else, perhaps power, or immortality, or love. "I've been a slave to my desires my whole life," he whispered. "Even getting everything I wanted, I didn't become free." This parable shows us the trap of fulfilled desires. We think if our dreams came true, we'd be happy. But each fulfilled desire often brings new problems and births new desires. The miser gained the ability to turn everything to gold, but this didn't bring him happiness. On the contrary, it created new limitations and new suffering. He realized the problem wasn't the absence of gold, but his obsession with it. In the modern world, we often behave like this miser. We dream of a salary raise, but getting it, we start worrying about taxes. We want fame, but getting it, we suffer from lack of privacy. We strive for power, but getting it, we fear losing it. Each desire isn't a door to freedom, but new chains. As long as we believe happiness depends on fulfilling our desires, we remain prisoners of our own aspirations. Think about it. Which of your fulfilled desires brought you long-term happiness? Which created new problems? What if freedom lies not in fulfilling desires, but in liberation from their tyranny? Third parable, the one who had everything. In a distant land lived a man who possessed a unique gift. He could materialize any thought. Want gold, and it appears. Think of a beautiful house, and it manifests. Imagine love, and the woman of his dreams comes to him. At first, he was thrilled with his gift. He created a luxurious life for himself: palaces, gardens, jewels, exquisite food. He materialized an army of servants who fulfilled his every whim. But after a few months, he felt a strange emptiness. Everything came too easily. There was no struggle, no achievement, no joy from overcoming difficulties. Perhaps I need new sensations, he thought, and began materializing extreme adventures. He created dangers so he could heroically overcome them. But knowing he could stop the danger at any moment, he felt no real thrill. Then he decided to materialize problems for himself. He created enemies, illnesses, financial troubles. But even this didn't help. He knew he could get rid of them at any moment. Over time, he understood that he'd become a slave to his own capabilities. He could get everything, but this everything had lost all meaning for him. He'd created a perfect prison for himself, a world where everything was possible, but nothing had value. One day he met a simple farmer who was working hard in the field. The farmer's face glowed with exhaustion, but his eyes held genuine joy. "What makes you so happy?" asked the man with the gift. "I worked all day, and tonight I'll be able to eat bread I earned with my own hands," answered the farmer. "And tomorrow I'll have a new day of work." "But it's so hard. You could want more." "Of course I could want more," smiled the farmer. "But why? I have work that gives me a sense of purpose. I have land that teaches me patience. I have difficulties that make me stronger. And most importantly, I have hope for tomorrow." The man with the gift realized that the farmer was richer than him because he could value simple things. His desires were natural and achievable. He wasn't a slave to limitless possibilities. "You know what?" said the man with the gift. "I give you my power." "Thank you," replied the farmer, "but I don't need it. I already have everything I need for happiness." This parable shows us the paradox of limitless possibilities. When we can get everything we want, we lose the ability to value what we have. When there are no obstacles, there's no joy in overcoming them. The man with the gift became a prisoner of his own capabilities. He could materialize any desire, but lost the ability to truly desire. The farmer had limitations, but these limitations made his life meaningful. We often dream of having more possibilities, more choices, more power over circumstances. But the truth is that some limitations give us freedom. When we have clear boundaries, we can find creative ways to live within them. Endless desires create endless prison. Accepting life's natural limitations can become a source of genuine freedom. Practical application. These three parables give us concrete tools for liberation from the prison of desires. From the first parable, we learn the practice of contentment. Regularly ask yourself, "What do I already have?" instead of, "What am I lacking?" Keep a gratitude journal, recording daily what's already present in your life. Practice meditation on the phrase, "I have enough of what I have." From the second parable, we understand the importance of conscious relationship with desires. Before striving for something, ask yourself, "What do I really want to get from this?" Often we think we want money, but we actually want security. We think we want fame, but we actually want recognition. Understanding true needs, we can find healthier ways to satisfy them. From the third parable, we learn acceptance of natural limitations. Try to see your limitations not as obstacles, but as frameworks that make life meaningful. Limited time makes each moment precious. Limited resources teach us creativity. Limited possibilities help us focus on what's truly important. Conclusion. We build our own cages from the bars of desires. Each "I want," each "it should be," each "if only," is another bar in our prison. But the key to this prison is always in our hands. The king was rich but unhappy until he understood that freedom lies not in fulfilling desires, but in liberation from their tyranny. The miser got everything he dreamed of, but discovered it didn't bring him happiness. The man with limitless possibilities realized that true wealth lies in the ability to value simple things. Freedom isn't about getting everything we want. Freedom is about not being a slave to our wants. This doesn't mean we should abandon all desires or stop striving for goals. It means we should change our relationship with desires. Instead of letting desires control us, we can learn to observe them with understanding. Instead of believing that happiness depends on fulfilling our aspirations, we can find peace in what we already have. True freedom begins with understanding. You are not your desires. You are the one who observes desires. And in this observation, in this space between you and your wants, lives genuine freedom. Open the door of your cage. The key has always been in your hands. You are freer than you think. You just need to stop building walls from your own desires.